SpaceTeam, a chaotic and cooperative card game. This is a card game that players play together, a single team, they all win or lose together, and it lasts exactly 5 minutes. Well, actually, that is the worst case scenario. If you meet your victory conditions before 5 minutes have passed from the beginning of the game, then you win the game. If 5 minutes pass and you haven't won the game yet, then you lose by default. So the players represent astronauts that are stuck on the starship that is pretty much falling apart. Like in most cooperative games, everything that can go bad will go and will move from bad to worse, and you're trying to prevent it from going from worse to worst. The game uses 4 different types of cards. These are the cards that you're looking for. They will be shuffled in the players' decks at the beginning of the game, and players pretty much trying to discard the cards in their decks to find these cards here. When one is found, it is put in the middle of the table. If the players found all of these 6 cards that are buried in their decks before the game is over, before 5 minutes, then they win the game. This represents the fact that you have been able to fix the starship. But in order to do so, again, you have to find them from the players' decks that you form by shuffling together anomaly cards and malfunction cards. There is a nice rulebook, very short, and the game is very simple, in fact, and it has setup instructions that tell you how to set up your decks. Basically, you will mix together, you shuffle together a number of malfunction cards and anomaly cards based on a number of players and the level of difficulty. If you have 5 players and you want a medium level game, then you take 24 malfunction cards and 8 anomaly cards, and you shuffle them together, and also you shuffle these ones in, so you will have a big deck, and then you distribute those cards to the players. So each player will have a deck that may look a little bit like this. There you go. So each player will have a deck in front of themselves, sort of like this, with a mix of anomalies, malfunctions, and parts of the starship. Then also each player receives tool cards. As you can see, these are very fun looking different tools, very imaginative, weird names, weird shapes, and that actually has a purpose, as you will see. They don't just look cute, actually they make the game more interesting. You shuffle the tools together and you distribute them to all players. You just give 1 to each player, continue like this until all cards have been distributed. Yes, all tools are in play in all games, regardless of the number of players. So each player will have also a big stack or hand of tools. How big it is depends on the number of players. Then when the game starts, you start the timer. There's a timer that comes with the game. You can use an app, you can use any way of taking or measuring time that you want. But you start the timer for 5 minutes, and when the game starts, the 5 minutes start, each player flips their deck face up, and the card that is on top is now the anomaly or malfunction that they have to deal with. Each card tells you what tool or tools you need to fix that anomaly. The tools may be described like here by their name, or they may be described by their symbol or by a mix of symbols and icons. So pretty simple. In order to fix this, and by fixing it to discard the corresponding tool, I need to have a centrifugal dispenser, which I place in front of me. If I have it, oh gosh, I don't have it, then what do? I ask, I start yelling, shouting, whatever means of communication I have. Who has a centrifugal dispenser? I need a centrifugal dispenser. The centrifugal dispenser, anybody? And if somebody has it, they can give it to me. However, as we are sitting around the table, you cannot pass a card across the table. You have to give it to the player to your right or to your left. So they may go through multiple people before it gets to you if the player that has that card has it in their hand. And here, for example, we have this thingy that looks like a magnet, a letter U, a horseshoe. But I think I had that one. So, and I don't actually. So the point of some of these tools being described on the malfunction cards with drawings or icons is that, of course, it makes communication more challenging. Now you have to describe the thing that you need. And so since everybody's trying to do that at the same time, the game becomes very chaotic. It becomes even more chaotic when players find anomalies. Anomalies, well, you simply do what the card says. And sometimes you have a lasting condition, sometimes it's something special that you have to do to be able to get rid of that card. For example, you place this card on the nearest tool in play, so now one of the tools is stuck, cannot be used, until all players touch the tool and say 1, 2, 3, pull! And so, now we can use this tool again. The wormhole, transdimensional wormhole ahead. All players must change seats before continuing. More chaos, more madness going on. Place your hand on the shoulder of the player to your right, and all players must do the same before you may continue. It's really fun how actually the body language that is used with these anomalies, it feels very thematic. What are we have to... Now we have become wires and we repair the short circuit. I don't know, but body language-wise seems to make sense. Let me just show you some of the most fun ones. I guess they're buried in here. They're just some that I really wanted to show you. Noxious gas, I like this one. You can't speak or play until all players have shouted your name to wake you up. So that's it. And so you also have to pay attention, not just to the players that are yelling, but also to players that all of a sudden are quiet. Why aren't they participating? Then you go and you look at their card, the person next to the card says, oh shoot, we need to wake this person up. Man overboard. You cannot communicate with sound. The adjacent player must physically pull you back before you can continue. So you start moving backward from the table, away from the table until they pull you back. It can get really fun. Don't use your thumbs for the rest of the game because you just realized that you are a robot. Gosh darn it, I really like my thumb, and it turns out that now I only have this sort of like claw. Actually, no, not even that kind of claw, this kind of claw, which is tough. So this is the idea. Players complete anomalies. Sometimes, again, you simply have to deal with the conditions. Sometimes you have to do something. You fix malfunctions by showing that you have the corresponding tools in front of you, and you go through a deck like this. Yay! When you find one of these cards, you put in the middle of the table. If players can form the starship before the end of the game, can fix the starship by forming it with those 6 cards, they win the game, otherwise they lose it. And this is how SpaceTeam works. A really fun, really chaotic game. Yes, it does what it promises. It is cooperative, it is chaotic, and I can already tell you, it is also really fun. The simplicity of the game, allows you to play with pretty much anybody. It doesn't matter if they are committed players or they haven't played games like hobby games regularly. It works as a party game. Again, you can play with complete neophytes. I play with people that do not play games regularly. They had a really good time. They enjoyed it. I actually recently was at a conference on teaching recently, and there were some people that said, you know, I often use games in my class, but students are a little bit shy at the beginning, especially if it's role-playing games. They don't want to participate. How do I create a sense of team? How do I make people feel comfortable doing, you know, crazy stuff in the class? And I suggest, have you tried SpaceTeam? Have you tried playing SpaceTeam with them or having them play SpaceTeam? Because the fact that it moves so fast and it's so ridiculous, in a certain sense, it bypasses people's natural shyness. All of a sudden, I'm not just yelling and doing crazy stuff because I want to, but hey, the game lets me. So the magic circle of the game sort of like allows you to become comfortable. I really think that this game, on top of being super fun if you're just playing it at a party, can be used to build a sense of like a team spirit, can be used as an icebreaker in situations where you want people to feel comfortable and maybe to think outside of the box, to interact with one another in unusual ways. This is a sort of way people are starting to behave quote-unquote silly in silly ways, but again, the game brings them, the game drives them to do so, and so people don't feel totally responsible, and people are just having a good time, and all of a sudden they feel much more relaxed with one another than they were before. So I really think actually this can be used as a as a tool for actual team building. On top of that, if you're not trying to build a team of coworkers or students or a team of whatever sport team, you just want to have a crazy good time with your friends, SpaceTeam is a good option for that too. It is just that kind of party game that I really like because it is so simple and intuitive. And again, party games, by definitions, you want them to be accessible to a large variety of people that do not necessarily play games regularly. Is the type of party game that I like, again, because it's fun, quick, intuitive. There are party games that are very successful out there, but I'm sorry to say I don't like them because they seem to me just an excuse to make poor taste jokes. Just like a game can be an excuse to bypass my shyness, it can also be a way for me to make mild racist jokes, mild sexist jokes, or not so mild, or poor taste political jokes, or jokes about people's genitalia. You probably know what is the kind of game that I'm referring to, the kind of like party game that in truth you're just putting together really bad taste jokes that you would feel uncomfortable maybe making otherwise, but hey, I'm putting together various cards and making this joke about African Americans, but it's not me, it's the game that is making it. No, it's still you. So here you can have that sense of like freedom, of like, this is so fun, get past your shyness, get involved in the activity. That's not only liberation. I'm playing a crazy, chaotic game, but it's not, how can I say, it's not giving vent to some instincts that I believe we should just try not to have, or instead of like, well, I'm releasing them by a game that lets me make racist, sexist, or sexual jokes. It's not the type of game the party game that I like. I like party games that are positive, that are fun, that are ridiculous, yes, but that do not involve poor taste humor. SpaceTeam is just one such party game. Probably one of my party games to go for the future. I'm very glad that I discovered it and that I added it to my collection because it's really fun, really simple, intuitive, fast moving, but absolutely entertaining and fun game.